Okay, I'm back. Part two. Let's just do this very quickly. I don't want to get behind again because when I put things off, pretty soon I get 2 or 3 days worth of stuff I didn't get to, and then I got to do, 2 long videos. So let's just get through this video here real quick. Let me reset my timer. Okay, so I don't go over. Get a drink. Okay. As I just mentioned, Charles Grassley, head of the Senate Judiciary Committee, has now demanded a copy of the scope memo. The scope memo is, of course, the original memo written by Rodenstein outlining the scope that Uncle Bob, the executioner, would have in his investigation, so-called investigation. Now, let's get to the next thing here real quick. The case of Mueller and the 13 trolls. Well, more bad news in that court case, which is now falling apart. The lawyers for Concord Management, the Russian troll company, the alleged Russian troll company, said that Mueller's team ignored over 70 requests for documents made during pre-discovery. This is when the lawyers first meet in court. They usually have already a list of things they want through discovery, and they're saying here, making the claim to the judge, that Uncle Bob first ignored all of their 70 requests for documents in the discovery process. Then he comes along and dumps 1.5 terabytes of information and then says, sorry, you'll have to figure it all out because it's a lot of it's in Russian, which means they couldn't possibly have read it. Certainly they couldn't have read all that information unless they had somebody that spoke Russian, which you assume that Uncle Bob has a Russian translator on his team, right? Wrong. Guess what we learned today? Mueller's team is now admitting that they do not have an English translator for the Russian social media posts. So the social media post that Mueller says influenced the elections were Russian. In other words, what we're learning about this 1.5 terabytes, it's nothing more than it's 1.5 terabytes of nothing but copy and pasted into files, comments from Russians, which they couldn't even translate it because apparently Uncle Bob has no Russian translator. So that's what they handed over for discovery, was 1.5 terabytes worth of social media from people who speak Russian. Now, let me ask you, how many American voters do you think were influenced by social media posts in Russian? How many people do you know who speak Russian? How many Americans do you know who speak Russian? How many Americans do you know who got pop-up Facebook ads or Twitter ads or any other type of ad in Russian? I don't know any. I didn't see any, and I was on the computer a lot during the 2016 election. I recall seeing lots of pop-up ads and ads for Trump and ads for and against Trump and Clinton, but I don't recall seeing any pop-up ads in Russian. Did you see any pop-up ads in Russian? Do any of you speak Russian? Why would Uncle Bob have 1.5 terabytes of Russian social media posts that they can't even read? And why would he present that to the other side as part of the discovery process, as part of making their case? And how much of a sense of humor do you have to be as a judge to tolerate that in your courtroom? Something tells me that case is not going to go very well. But it gets a little worse. In that same hearing, one of Uncle Bob's Hillary Clinton posse members, Jeannie Rhee, who is a former Clinton and Obama attorney and has made campaign donations to both Clinton and Obama, told the court that there was 1.5 terabytes of data covering hundreds of facilities that compromised operational accounts. As it turns out, the faculties were nothing more than individual social media users' accounts. That is the conspirators. Individual Russians with social media accounts were conspiring with the 3 Russian companies and the 13 trolls on the troll farm to put out social media to influence the election in Russian. Again, I once had what was looking out to be a very good, serious espionage thriller type situation going, and now it's been reduced to nothing more than a spoof. So I'm left with nothing more than Leslie Nielsen and a whoopee cushion. Thank you very much, Uncle Bob. It appears that Anthony Weiner gave his laptop and phones to a private investigator before the FBI was able to raid his home. This occurred 2 days after he was exposed. So once it came out that Anthony Weiner had been texting his minors, he immediately took apparently his laptop and some phones to a private investigator and apparently dropped them off with him. So that means that that private investigator also has all that stuff, not to mention all those rotten Reverend Clinton State Department emails and God knows what else. So the question is, who else has the rotten Reverend Clinton's emails from the State Department? Probably showing pay for play. I wonder if this PI is extorting the rotten Reverend Clinton with those files. He should be. But last but not least, the day just wouldn't be a Towegate video day without covering the rotten Reverend Clinton. We cover her every day because she won't go away and she won't shut up. Proof in point, regarding the Texas school shooting, the rotten Reverend posted up a comment, or a Twitter comment. So the rotten Reverend Clinton, who set up a gun-running operation in Benghazi, which got blown up and led to the death of 4 Americans. The Secretary of State, who probably sold more weapons to rogue countries around the world and warlords than any Secretary of State in history. She may be the biggest weapons proliferator in the history of America. And of course, let's not forget that little charade in Benghazi, what that eventually evolved into, which is the leader of that country, Gaddafi, being taken out, which was one of the wealthiest countries in North Africa at the time. They now have open slave trading going on there, and the country is ruled by warlords, which the rotten Reverend Clinton armed. With all that in consideration, she tweeted the following: "Every day that we fail to act on gun violence, we are failing our children." The rotten Reverend Clinton. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will be back tomorrow. That would be, I guess, Sunday, for the Sunday Towegate video, and we'll see what happens between now and then. A lot of work to do. I'm also working something else I'm doing right now that I've been working on for a while. It's just taking me a lot of time to do it because I'm so busy with everything else. I'm trying to put together a timeline that I can put into a document that I can post a link to every time I do a Towegate video, so I can put it in the comments section or something so that you can just click on that, open up that, and look at a timeline. So as you're watching my video and I'm throwing out all these things, you can actually follow through by looking at a timeline and scroll down and follow the timeline. Because I know a lot of you, I'm looking at notes and I have dates in front of me, and so I'm following a timeline. But I realize that you don't have that, and it's hard for someone when they're telling you, hitting you with all these dates, it's hard to keep that in your head. So just so you know, I am aware that it is hard to follow along with me when I'm hitting you with all these dates and times and names and stuff. It is hard. So I am actually trying to put together a timeline, not of every single little event, because that'd be take a long time to do. There's so many events, but the major events that have taken place, the ones we focus on the most here, so that you, when you're watching my video, you can click on that, open up a little, probably a notepad or Word document or something, and you can see a timeline of events, so that you can kind of open that up as you're watching a video. When I say something, a name or a date, you can scroll down and look and see, you know, and put it in perspective. So that's something I'm working on, and hopefully in the next week or two, hopefully no more than 2 weeks, I'll have that completed and maybe start being able to use that as an aid for the videos to help you guys with the timeline. Alrighty, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you, and I'll be back on Sunday. Take care. Good night. Bye.